Hello, M365 Nation, Microsoft 365 Nation, Harry Brelsford with my last interview on a Friday. So I'm pretty excited about that. As you know, with our list of contributors, we like to talk to them monthly about topics of interest. And what's interesting this month is many of our contributors are published authors like Jen Reed, who we've spoken with about her Dummies book, Microsoft 365 and the Dummies series. And then I found out that Ken Dwight was holding out on us, that he is actually a published author. I had to go discover this. So Ken, you're not being a very compliant patient in the Microsoft 365 community, but we'll forgive you. So welcome back, Ken. And before we came on camera, you were just saying that it's the rainy season in Houston, but you're high and dry. But we wish Houston well. I hope the flooding is well under control, my friend.
Well, considering that Hurricane Harvey dumped 50 inches of rain on us in 4 days, we're not in danger of that happening again anytime soon.
Okay. So, Ken, I'm looking off screen, and a number of years ago, you wrote and published a book called Bug-Free Computing. And I, again, love authors. I fancy myself a typist as well. What's the book? What's the story? Why'd you do it?
Okay, great questions. Thank you. Well, first of all, I have never been that thrilled about the title. My original working title was something related to safe computing.
Okay.
And at the time, I had a more or less pre-order from a major training company, and the product developer or the head of products there didn't like safe computing. So that sounds too much like safe sex.
Well, yeah, but bug-free, there's still some STD connotations here too, man.
So he came up with bug-free computing, which I wasn't real thrilled about, but he also came up with a subtitle, which I really like: Stop Viruses, Squash Worms, and Smash Trojan Horses.
Yeah, I like that.
So that at least made it clear that it was not about a programming book and debugging programs. So I lived with that compromise, and it became, at the time, the best-selling book on computer viruses. And this is back in 2005 when viruses was the term we used for everything malicious. The term malware, if it had been coined by then, it wasn't widely used. And so it was still the days of viruses.
Yeah, but yeah, good for you. So walk me through the book. I mean, as the best you can. What was the flow?
Well, it's generally different from a lot of what I do these days in that it was more of an end user book. Back in 2002, a virus came out called KLEZ, K-L-E-Z, that to my mind really changed the whole landscape of what malware was all about. Because prior to that, the conventional wisdom, and it was still mostly true, was that virus writers were bored kids and vandals that just wanted to cause trouble. And with KLEZ, it was the first one I saw that was actually making money at it. And to me, that was a game changer. That said, we're going to have a whole different bunch of people out there producing viruses, releasing them in the wild, and the average user doesn't have a clue. So I started going around and talking to chambers of commerce and Rotary clubs and different groups that had business owners and computer users to just really raise the awareness of how different viruses were from what they thought they knew about them. Yeah. And along the way, a lot of people said, well, you ought to write a book about that. And of course, most of us feel like we've got at least one book in us, but it's also a lot of work, as you know, Harry. But
it's like childbirth, 9 months, let me tell you.
Well, eventually I figured it might be worth the pain of going through and publishing. And so when I made that decision, I decided to also do it right, not just try to throw something together for the sake of getting my name out there. And so it did become a lot of work, a lot of time, and frankly, a lot of out-of-pocket money. Because one thing I learned pretty early was the first-time author does not get a New York publisher.
And you know, Ken, let me jump on that. Fast forward the movie to 2019 with the print on demand and these other tools. I would offer, and I coach people all the time. In fact, let me frame it up about New York publishers this way. I go to a conference and somebody comes up and says, I've always wanted to write a book, right? Everybody's got that up here. And there's good reasons, and I'm going to ask you a couple questions about what leverage you got off of the book, because books are great leverage professionally. But what I like to do, Ken, is tell them, in this day and age of Ingram Spark and some guy, Carl Pellicek has a guide on how to be self-published. The game has really changed, and really the only variable, two variables, Ken, you've hit on the first one, was capital, right? So the author has to put up the capital, which is what publishers traditionally do. But the other thing as to why I really, really like self-publishing now is audience. And so if you already have an audience, or you can tap into an audience like a training organization, like IAMCP, a trade group, or CompTIA, or whoever, why do you need a New York publisher? Because, man, they're going to take 90 cents of every dollar and throw you 10 cents, if you know what I mean.
Well, plus they own it.
Yeah.
It's out of your control.
Yeah.
And I like that control.
But I interrupted you. So you put yourself in the book business, and you had a pre-order, and you said that and I'm looking at the review, and yes, you talk about at KLEZ, KLEZ. Is that how that's pronounced?
Oh,
KLEZ. 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 Yeah, the worm. No, you talk about it here on your page that I'm going to refer out to. So go on. So it became a monetary thing. You timed the market right, and off to the races.
Yeah. Cool. So the more I talked to authors and professional speakers and people that were self-published, the more I learned how much there was to it, and I think the downside of coming out with a shoddy product. Because there are a lot. This was in the early days of print on demand, and
right. I got it.
POD was out there, but the quality wasn't. And
that's
especially in what I was doing, it involved a lot of screenshots that would not reproduce well in print on demand. So I had to do it the traditional publishing way with printing on a press, large runs, and as you know, Harry.
Don't
you
get
have
me
to
going.
get them certain volume. and I worked with a consultant that worked with first time authors, and not just first time, but from first time on. And she helped me understand that kind of the sweet spot was 2,000 to 2,500 copies. At that price, for the kind of book I was talking about, I could get it to a reasonable cost per book. And if you got down to about 500 copies, it was not cost effective.
That's right.
And beyond 2,000, 2,500, the additional discounts weren't that great either. So anyway, and actually I told you wrong on that. My first printing was 2,000 or 5,000 copies.
Right, but you already built up some momentum. That's right.
Yeah. And so, frankly, that sold out quicker than I expected. And so I updated it, came out the second edition, and printed 2,500 of those. And they sold out before I knew it. And by that time, I wasn't really, it had kind of served its purpose.
Books have a life.
So, and as you know, it's a lot of work. And so that's still my only published book on that scale.
But Ken, I think what's important for this month's contribution here at Microsoft 365 Nation is I want the audience viewing this and who've joined our community to understand that we have put together quite a team. So, for example, earlier today, I had my monthly interview with Andrew Bettany out of the UK, who writes technical exam preparation books for Microsoft Press. He's done 7 of them. And so he was able to rattle off at the internal level, the Windows 10 autopilot, this and that. And Ken, what I want people to understand with the community is we're trying to deliver meat on these bones with published authors. Now let's get back to the book and the behavior of a book. Did this become a tool for you to leverage, to become a speaker on the stage, to become a guide by the side, a sage on the stage as a trainer, that kind of thing? Do you feel the book served that purpose? Because that's what they're supposed to do.
And that was one of my original intentions. And the straight answer is no, it didn't really do that for me. It was kind of the reverse. I was doing a lot of training for this international training organization, and they, of course, had the back of the room sales. And so I was selling the books as a result of being there, not being there as a result of having the books.
Yeah. I get that. Curiosity, and then we'll call it good for the month of May. But do you still have the original Word files and PDFs? If by chance some fine day you wake up and say, you know what, I need to update that book. I'm not suggesting you would do that, but if you ever did, do you still have the data, the files?
As you and I talked about before we started recording, I'm a pack rat. Yes, I have it.
Yeah, because go ahead.
Think of 2005, 14, 15 years. There have been a few changes in the industry since then. For instance, the book, as I say, it was an end user book. And so it talked about the different types of threats and that sort of thing. A lot of examples, a lot of websites, all of which I'm sure don't exist anymore. Or the URLs are bad, and some of the screenshots were from Windows 98. And so there's nothing in there about Facebook. Facebook didn't exist back then.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm not going to be updating it.
Okay, now that's fine. That's fine. But more importantly, I just wanted people who are participating in our community to know that you have this in your background, and
it's 186 pages long, so there's a lot I could say on the subject.
Oh yeah, well, and we're going to do that another day. By the way, we are going to double click down into that. But Ken, I was gonna say enjoy the rain, but stay safe over there in the spring rains of Houston.
Yeah, you know about rain.
Yeah. Although ironically, we're 85 degrees today with sun. So you know what, Ken, this would be a nice place to live if it didn't rain all the time. Let me tell you. All right.
Well, April and October are the best times to be in Houston too.
There we go. Have a great month, my friend. Jenny, as always, in the radio control room. Thank you for your help. We'll talk to you next month, Ken.
Thanks, Harry.